Who retires first, Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers?
Same time.
Aaron Rodgers was asked, does he want to play until he's 45? And he said no.
Yeah, I saw that.
He's like, no, I don't know. It depends. Does Brady want? Yeah, because we need to talk about this Brady story. Like, does Brady retire after next year, or does he go to the Dolphins next year? Like, can we talk about this for a hot second?
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Because do you remember months ago when this crazy ass story came out that it was like, hey, Tom Brady might fake retire, then go be like a GM or an executive with the Dolphins and name himself like QB?
That's what we
were
forgot
like,
to talk about.
Yeah.
oh, that's so crazy. Like, what a crazy story. And then it comes out that like at least a good chunk of that is true. Like, that's wild. And I'm sorry, what owner goes, I'll give you $100,000 if you lose? I'm totally joking, by the way.
Yeah, they couldn't prove it. So that's the only reason why they didn't get suspended for that. I thought that was the reason.
Yeah, so let's talk about this. We forgot to mention this. The Dolphins forfeited a 2023 first-round pick, and I think it was third round?
2024 third.
Yeah.
2024 third-round pick.
They got lucky.
Because it was revealed. What was revealed? Like, what actually was said for the punishment?
Tampering. Basically, they tampered with Tom Brady twice, in which they did 2019 when he was on the Patriots, then no later than December of 2021 when he was on the Buccaneers and trying to get him to come over. And then they also tampered by reaching out to the agent of Sean Payton while he was still under contract with the Saints. And before he announced his retirement or anything, then when he announced his retirement, they reached out to the Saints. Can we interview him? And the Saints were like, absolutely not. So, yeah, they tampered 3 times, so 2 with the same player with Tom Brady. And Stephen Ross is now suspended through like mid-October, was fined like $1.5 million.
And he's coming back for the Steeler game against Brian Flores.
Yeah.
I feel like they write this stuff out. I feel like they do it on purpose.
Which is great.
Good catch, Tree. I saw
I
that.
just,
Okay,
I want a
saw that.
sideline cam, a hard cam on Brian Flores the entire game.
Yeah.
The entire game.
So for those unaware,
Honestly, I hope if the Steelers end up winning that game, I hope that Brian Flores just whips out his junk and just starts slapping Stephen Ross silly with it. And then he's on his knees just crying. It's like,
so for those unaware of what Tree's talking
Put it
about,
on the wheel of punishment.
basically,
How long are you
the
getting
former,
suspended for? You got a raise?
the former Miami Dolphins coach, Brian Flores, alleged that his owner would have paid him money to lose. Okay. They couldn't prove this. This is why they were not punished. But as a result of Brian Flores coming out and saying this, all of a sudden, now he's fired, okay? Now he takes up a job as a coordinator with the Steelers, and that's basically how we got into this situation.
Well, what you're forgetting is a major point. You remember Bill Belichick tested Brian Flores that he got the job with the New York Giants, yet nobody announced it, and they realized, oh, wait, I texted the wrong Brian. He was trying to text Brian Dable, who was a member of the Patriots. It's like,
so essentially,
hey, how you doing, Brian? Have a good day. And that's
so essentially,
why he decided to start suing.
I just love the text. Do you mean Brian Dable? It's like, oops, my bad.
Like,
and meanwhile, now the Dolphins, like their divisional rival, lose draft picks. Bill Belichick's like, oopsie, was that me?
So do we think Bill Belichick is that much of a mastermind?
Honestly, with the way he's working the stuff and finessing, I think he has a shot of it. He wants chaos. He's just sitting there drinking orange juice and studying film for 10 hours a day. He wants his fun, and it's not a typical fun when you're in a film room for 10 hours. You need something exciting. You need legitimate chaos, and I think that's what he's creating.
So since we've been gauging what is fair and what is unfair, can we agree or disagree? Was this punishment for the Dolphins fair?
They're lucky.
I disagree. I think that Stephen Ross should have been forced to get slapped by Brian Flores' chin.
There's that.
I would have liked to see. I would pay.
And it needs to be recorded and put on Twitter.
When are they going to start doing like pay-per-view football games? When they start doing that? No, I think that they're really lucky because I don't know, like all that joking about, maybe we should focus more on the draft, or I'll give you $100,000 to throw like games. I don't know. Like, I feel like you could take that. And that's what Flores said. Like, that was one of the statements. His disappointment of the fact that isn't being punished. So,
I mean, think about it. We got a dude that bet $1,500, not $100,000, $1,500 on a fantasy year-long suspension. An owner says, "Hey, haha, throw a game, I'll give you $100K." He doesn't even get suspended for a season.
With Calvin Ridley, and that's the reason why it's kind of a false equivalence to compare these sort of suspensions. The NFL is trying to make sure that nobody does gambling because there's the potential of throwing or like impacting the game. That's what they're afraid of. And I don't agree with a year-long suspension either, but still, it's the reason why Pete Rose got banned for life.
Not impacting the integrity of the game just as much as betting would.
But that's the thing. I think context matters for Calvin Ridley, though. The fact that he had like no communication with the team, like I understand. I completely agree with Trey. Like understand, like betting on the games as a player, bad. Even though we know all the players do it, they just do it through like their cousin or somebody else.
Yeah,
right?
That's the reason why Calvin Ridley got caught. He used a proxy that was measured in Florida, and he was in Florida at the time. He didn't use ExpressVPN or one of the other fine VPNs out there.
But that's my point, is that I think with Ridley, like I think half the season would have been justified. Like suspend him 8 games and be like, hey, you do it again, it's a year. You know what I mean? Because it didn't actually impact the integrity of the game, in my opinion, just because he had no communication with, like he had no like sway on the outcome or anything. Like, oh, Matt, how's your knee doing today? You know, if there was none of that, I don't know.
The thing that's interesting, going back to Brian Flores here, and I agree the Dolphins probably got away with something. But I have to criticize Brian Flores for when they allegedly tried to pay him to tank, he wrote a letter and sent it to Dolphins executives complaining about Stephen Ross. Why would you send it to the people Stephen Ross is paying? And if you would have circumvented them and just went straight to the NFL and said, like, this just happened, and they had that sort of piece of, and that's not even evidence. That's one man's word against another man. And it's why, like the Ridley thing, there was evidence that he did it. It's easy for the NFL, you know, to make a punishment there and justify it. But he should not have said that internally.
Honestly, he should have pulled an Andy Dufresne and sent it to the press. They would have had
the
fun
press, a lawyer, anybody.
Andy Dufresne. Andy Dufresne.